Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and welcome to a new segment here called Who in the Hell Is, and this time around, Who in the Hell is Ahsoka Tano? Welcome everybody. Before I get started here, let me take care of a little bit of business and then we'll get to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. If you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. And also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, you get the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule that's up there. I change it out every week. Also, I have all the links to my social media, so Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. No tears sipping the Patreon waiting until I hit 1,000 subs because I want to give you something if you're going to give me some money. Also, I have all the links to my pages. So my YouTube channel that you're watching here, my Facebook page, and a Facebook group page for those of you who still have Facebook, where you can post stuff and chat amongst yourselves. So let's get to it. So basically what this is, those of you who are watching The Mandalorian right now are probably going, who in the fuck is Ahsoka Tano? Especially if you haven't been watching like the animated Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, anything like that. And this is pretty much a back filler. I'm not going to go into exclusive detail. There's a lot of detail into this, I'm not going to lie, and it'll give you some more background on the character, so you don't have to go through and watch all those episodes in order to get the character's background. It does help quite a bit, though, and you can see why the rest of us are kind of like geeking out whenever we hear her name, or we hear bo-katan's name, because I will be doing bo-katan at some point. Also, Sabine Wren, who of course is over here, Ahsoka Tano's right back here. Things like that. And, some of you are casual fans. That's fine. That's great. But still, it adds a little bit more to the story if you know the backstory of these characters. And we've got years worth of backstory on these characters. So let's get to it, shall we? Ahsoka Tano is a Togruta, who was discovered by Plo Koon, a Jedi Master, about 36 years before the Battle of Yavin is what this is. She became a Padawan at the age of 3, joined the Jedi Temple, moved over to Coruscant, and started training, of course. She became the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker at the age of 14. And later became, she fought alongside him and Obi-Wan during the battle of, the Republic battle against the Separatists. And during this time, she became a commander, actually, during the Battle of Ryloth, which is where the Twi'leks live, all of that. And still, she was about 14, 15, somewhere around there when that happened. Then, of course, the Battle of Mandalore, well, not the Battle of Mandalore, I should say. She went undercover on a mission to Mandalore, where she helped rescue Duchess Satine, who is the sister of bo-katan. And she's the ruler of Mandalore at this time. And she helped rescue the Duchess from Prime Minister Almec, who basically tried to frame her for black market operations, is what was going on there. So during this whole time, at one point, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Anakin end up going to Mortis, and Mortis is another worldly plane, if you will. So their ship actually enters this mist that is in space, and they end up in this otherworldly plane where they meet basically the triumvirate, the father, the daughter, and the son. So this is supposed to represent the Force, and then, of course, the light side and the dark side of the Force. And during this time, Ahsoka actually dies. The son, who is, of course, the dark side of the Force, infects her, and with dark side energy, of course. And he ends up getting the dagger of Mortis from Obi-Wan, and he's basically trying to get Anakin over to the dark side a lot sooner than what he's going to be. And in the process, he lets Ahsoka die. So he's gonna kill Anakin with the dagger of Mortis, the son is, and the daughter gets in the way and she gets stabbed mortally. And the son kind of freaks out, drops the dagger, and in that time, Anakin's able to grab the dagger, and the daughter ends up convincing Anakin to help her by becoming a conduit to infuse her into Ahsoka, resurrecting her. Literally resurrecting her, yes. And sacrificing herself, which just leaves the father and the son. Anakin ends up killing the son, the dark side of the Force. And as he, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka are leaving Mortis, the father dies as well. Basically leaving everything, how shall we say this, kind of with no direction. The Force really has no direction, whereas before it did. And this is something a little bit weird that Filoni put in there, and there's been a lot of, how should I say, discussion on this, but you can kind of ignore that for right now. That's just part of what happened, though. Just that Ahsoka Tano died. That's all you need to know. She was resurrected, and she's back. So, Ahsoka Tano, her first run-in with Death Watch actually happens later on after this period where there's a junior senator who is blaming Count Dooku for his mother's death. And his name is Lux Bonteri. And he leaves, and Ahsoka kind of follows him because she knows he's kind of marked by Dooku at this point, which she's right. And she stows away on his ship as he goes and meets Death Watch. Death Watch sound familiar? Yes. And he's going to make a deal. Bonteri's going to make a deal with Death Watch to kill Dooku for him. And Ahsoka, of course, is aboard the ship. Bonteri sees her, and he convinces Death Watch that she is his, I guess you could say, fiance at that point, right? And this is where she meets bo-katan for the first time, is during this whole meeting. That's where Ahsoka meets her at this point. Needless to say, Pre Vizsla is there. He's got the dark saber, and he basically is going to kill everybody at this point. And Ahsoka saves everyone, chops off a couple of Mandalorian heads while doing this, Death Watch heads. And Pre Vizsla, along with the darksaber, bo-katan and her Night Owls, they all escape. And that's the end of that part where they finally meet for the first time. And like I said, I'm kind of going over this briefly just to kind of give you a backstory of all the shit that's gone on. So you know what's going on when you get into the Mandalorian at this point. So you kind of know where we're coming from, you know, why we love all of this. Barriss Offee, who is a Jedi, she is kind of souring on the Jedi Council on how they're handling things and doesn't think they're doing it right. And she secretly plans a bombing of the Jedi Council. In the investigation of all of this, the stormtroopers actually find a witness to all of this. Actually, someone that she basically fed her husband nanobots to make him a living bomb that went into the Jedi Temple and exploded. And of course, Barriss Offee was the one that gave her the nanites in order to make her husband a bomb. And so while this woman is in custody, Barriss Offee goes in, and in the meantime, Ahsoka is actually questioning this woman. And as she's questioning her in her cell, Barriss Offee goes in and force chokes the shit out of her and kills her, framing Ahsoka in the process, knocking Ahsoka out and framing her. Yeah. Yeah. So Ahsoka, of course, gets arrested for murder, and she's going to get put on trial. And Offee, ends up helping Ahsoka escape by giving her a key card to her cell, which Ahsoka thinks it's from Anakin, trying to help her out. She takes it and takes off, goes into the Coruscant underworld, and as she's trying to clear her name, she runs into Asajj Ventress. Now, if you remember, Asajj Ventress was another Sith apprentice, if you will, of Dooku. And Asajj has now become disillusioned by that and has become a bounty hunter at this point, even though she's still wanted by the Jedi. And she is hunting down Ahsoka, basically trying to make some cash. And they bump into each other, of course, and Ahsoka basically talks her into helping her clear her name. And what ends up happening is that Barriss Offee gets wind of this, uh, ends up wearing Asajj's bounty hunter uniform and attacks Ahsoka in a warehouse that she has told Ahsoka to meet her. Because Ahsoka still thinks that Offee's on her side, but she's not. And in this fight, the stormtroopers see all this happening in the warehouse. They knock out Ahsoka, bring her to trial, who Tarkin, remember Tarkin? Yes, is officiating at this point. He is just about to render his verdict when Anakin walks in with a now captured Barriss Offee, who confesses as to what she did, because she says, hey, you know what? The Jedi Council's fucked. You guys are wrong. This is why I did it. And so Ahsoka is acquitted, luckily, because they're about to find her guilty, because there was no way around all of this. Circumstantial evidence for the most part. And they let her go. The Jedi Council says, well, you know what? This was such trying times for you. This was your trial that you were supposed to have, the trial that makes you a Jedi Knight. We want you to come back into the Order as a Jedi Knight, not as a Padawan, but as a Jedi Knight. And she's like, no, fuck this. I'm not coming back because I don't think you guys embody the ideals of justice anymore. You are no longer thinking about justice. You're thinking about politics, is what she says. I'm going to go and find my own way now at this point. And she leaves. She actually turns her back on the Jedi Order and takes off. So as she takes off, she ends up going underneath. So pretty much everyone in Coruscant that's rich lives on the surface of Coruscant. Everyone else lives underground. There's many, many levels under there. And so she ends up going down and meets the Martez sisters and ends up working as a mechanic for them. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Martez sisters storyline is fucking infuriating until you get near the end. And that's when we find out that one of the Martez sisters there, Rafa, actually makes a deal with an underworld character and for dealing spice, basically, in the Pikes. You don't want to deal with the Pikes. And what ends up happening is that as a result of all of this, Ahsoka finds out about Black Sun and who's running Black Sun, which of course is Darth Maul. And kind of maybe where the whereabouts of Darth Maul is at this point. This brings about the attention of bo-katan once again, who comes and approaches them and says, whoa, 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 whoa. I am no longer with Death Watch. Death Watch has been disbanded. I am now part of the Mandalore Resistance. Mandalore is now under control of Darth Maul, and I need your help in order to get the Jedi to free Mandalore at this point. Yes. Ooh, sorry. Free Mandalore with purchase. And she ends up contacting Anakin Skywalker through the frequency Fulcrum, which he uses quite frequently, and meets up with him and Obi-Wan. And they are, of course, in space, or in orbit, I should say. And brings bo-katan along with her and pleads the story of helping out Mandalore. And Obi-Wan's like, no, we can't do it. We have a treaty with Mandalore. It's a 100-year-old treaty. And if we come in, we are going to break that treaty, and it's going to be a war. And we're already fighting a war as it is. And she basically kind of quips, well, what's one more war? Kind of thing to you guys at this point. And she's pretty hostile at this point, Ahsoka, to both Obi-Wan and Anakin. She doesn't see them changing as much as she has. She's looking at justice more than she is politics. And in all of this, they get the call that Dooku and Grievous have kidnapped the Chancellor and are attacking Coruscant, and they need to leave with the 501st. Yeah. So in the meantime, Anakin has brought her over to see the 501st, and Rex, Captain Rex, who he and Ahsoka got along very, very well. she actually treated all the clones as individuals, whereas Anakin and Obi-Wan, not so much so. She actually got more personable with the clones than anybody else, and recognized their different personalities. So much so that they actually honor her by making their armor look like the colorings on her face. So they actually put that on their helmets, and because they hear that she has come back. And they always call her commander. They're always calling her commander and saluting her, even though she is not a commander at this point. So what ends up happening is now we've kind of come up to Revenge of the Sith, the Episode 3 movie at this point. Anakin and Obi-Wan, of course, are going to go off to Coruscant. Obi-Wan is going to go off, of course, and try and find Grievous at this point. And Anakin comes up with the idea of splitting the 501st and sending off a a regiment off with Ahsoka. But Obi-Wan's like, no. She is a civilian now. We can't do that. And Anakin's like, well, all right, tell you what. We'll make Rex a commander, and we'll send Ahsoka along as an advisor. And they're gonna go to Mandalore with bo-katan and her knight in the Mandalore Resistance, and they're gonna go and find Maul and arrest him. And Obi-Wan's like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And so that's what they do. They send them off, and Ahsoka goes to Mandalore. And this is when we get the siege of Mandalore that's happening at this point. Ahsoka goes with them, and basically Maul has a group of Death Watch diehards that are now loyal to him, and Almec is now in charge of Mandalore. By the way, Darth Maul has killed Satine a couple of months ago prior to all of this. He has killed Satine, which is bo-katan's sister. So it makes matters kind of personal for bo-katan at this point. So Ahsoka actually meets up with Darth Maul, and Darth Maul says, can you feel it? Can you feel what's happening within the Force? It's happening right now. He goes, I wasn't even aware of it. Dooku wasn't aware of it. And it's a masterful plan. It's happening. He goes, I thought that Anakin was going to come. That was what I was hoping for, because we need to kill him, is what he says. Because I want to hurt Palpatine for what he did to me. And he tries to get Ahsoka to join him. And Ahsoka's like, no, fuck that. And they fight. And she ends up actually capturing him. And they tie him up in a last vestige of... So the Mandalorians used to hunt Jedi back in the day. And they had devices in order to stop Jedi from using their powers. So they had one last coffin, I guess you could say, if you will, that restrains someone of a Force user to the point where they can't use the Force or anything like that. They're basically, all you see is, it looks like a Hannibal Lecter thing, only like a gigantic crypt, and they've got Maul in that. So the clones are bringing Maul back, and Ahsoka has been talking to Obi-Wan, via subspace radio there and everything, and he's worried about Anakin. She is as well, and he wants her to talk to him, and she never gets a chance to, of course, at this point. Before we know what happens, of course, he turns over to the dark side, and she feels it. And just after that happens, we get, a certain order that comes down to the stormtroopers, and Rex and crew turn on her. But Rex is fighting it, actually. Rex is really, really fighting it. And before he gets taken over completely by it, he tells her, look up fives. Look up fives is what he tells her before she ends up escaping. It's actually a really good escape scene, by the way. And it turns out that earlier on in the Clone Wars animated series, one of the clones, Fives, because his designation was 5555, his inhibitor chip, malfunctioned, and he actually started attacking Jedi. And when they were looking into it, basically the Kaminoans covered it up with Dooku's help a little bit, so that it wasn't. Almost the jig was up at this point, but it wasn't. It got covered up, and there was one file left in the system of Rex having reservations about what happened because he had talked to Fives. Fives was a great friend of his, and she finds out that the inhibitor chip is what's doing it. So she uses some droids that she knows to capture Rex and take out the inhibitor chip out of his skull. Before she does this, by the way, she releases Maul. She doesn't give him lightsabers. And she goes, you know what? All you are is a distraction. You are to go out there, create the havoc that you normally do. I'm not giving you any lightsabers. And she goes, and by the way, I'm not rooting for you, is what she tells him. And she leaves. And Maul does a good job of distracting the stormtroopers. He actually rips out the fucking hyperdrives while they're in hyperspace. And this creates, the ship comes out of hyperdrive and is getting caught in the gravitational pull of a moon and heading towards a moon. And what do the clones do? They jettison all the fucking escape pods and are hunting the Jedi, any Force users that are on board the ship. Yeah. So Ahsoka's able to get the chip out of Rex's head. Rex is now on her side, and they're like, how in the fuck do we get out of here? Well, we got to get to the hangar. We need to get to a ship, and we need to get out of here. And, of course, what happens? But Maul takes the last ship and takes off. And they end up escaping, her and Rex, using another ship. But it costs all the brothers are dead at this point. And she is very distraught and leaves, all of this. And this is, of course, as Revenge of the Sith happens, episode 3. So what happens to her from here between here and Star Wars Rebels is where we see her next, because Star Wars Rebels happens before episode 4, A New Hope. Well, there's actually a little book out there called Ahsoka by E.K. Johnson, and this is Johnston, excuse me, and this is actually the precursor before Rebels, and this shows you what happens to Ahsoka, and she is essentially on the run, keeping a low profile and keeping her Jedi existence under wraps as well. So. Oh, and by the way, after the ship had crashed, Anakin, before she left Anakin, he had given her new lightsabers to fight with, Darth Maul with. She actually left those lightsabers, or at least one of them, in the graves of all the clone troopers that they buried on that moon. So that we see Darth Vader come by that moon later on, and he picks up the lightsaber, and he leaves. Yeah. He doesn't believe that she's dead for an instant, of course, but he finds that and leaves. So she is on the run now in this book. Inquisitors are after her. And, of course, what does she do? She can't help it, but she's actually trying to help people. And she sees the Empire systematically taking over things, and she knows all the Empire's tactics because they were the Republic's tactics. And, of course, she worked for them for that long, and so she knows all the codes and everything that's happening, and she helps out this it's basically a small moon. It can't even really be called a moon, and she helps the people on it to escape. In the meantime, an Inquisitor is hunting her down, and she ends up helping some more people along the way, to the point where she captures the attention of someone by the name of Organa. Yeah. And he is still in the Senate, of course, and he is looking for ways to help people in the galaxy because he sees the evil that the Empire is doing, but he wants to do something about it without dying in the process. And so he's able to hook up with Ahsoka at this point, and they start, essentially they start the Rebel Alliance is what goes on. And essentially it's just transporting food to people, transporting medicine, transporting to help to people in need at this point. we also find out through this book of how she gets her little dual white lightsabers there, and how actually a red kyber crystal is formed that the Sith use is that they pour in hate and pain and whatnot into a captured kyber crystal of a Jedi or and turn it red. That's how it becomes red, because there are no red naturally occurring kyber crystals. Well, how do you get a white kyber crystal? You capture a red kyber crystal from an inquisitor and you infuse hope into it. Hope, love, justice, that kind of stuff. So that is how she gets her white lightsabers, is through that. Just so you know how it goes about, how she goes about getting those, by the way. So at this point, she has taken on the code name Fulcrum, and this is where we go into Star Wars Rebels, and she is putting together ships, people, resources, things like that. She is actually the glue, along with Organa, to pull together the small rebel forces. And so the animated series Star Wars Rebels actually pulls this all together, as to she's not the main focal point of this, by the way. It's Ezra Bridger and Kanan Doom. Kanan is actually Caleb, I should say. Caleb Doom is his name. And he was also a Jedi Padawan that escaped during the whole purge, the Jedi purge. And he teaches Ezra to become a Jedi as well. And within all of this, Ahsoka ends up meeting Darth Vader for the first time, and they fight. And this is inside of a Sith temple, is really what it is. And we think she's dead at one point, but she's really not, because what ends up happening later on in the series is that Ezra ends up finding a Jedi temple, which is the world between worlds. And this is a pathway to all different points in time and space that anyone who uses it can visit all these different times and spaces. And he sees Ahsoka fighting Vader, and Vader is going to, take her down, and he pulls her through one of the portals and saves her, just as the Jedi temple, or excuse me, the Sith temple is collapsing. But while they're there, Palpatine knows that they're there, and he's trying to get in because he wants access to the world between worlds so that he can use it to change it for evil, of course. And Ahsoka's like, get the fuck out of here, lock everything up, and I'm going to go back to my time, and everything, we'll meet at some other point in time. And that's exactly what she does. She ends up going back to the time just pretty much after Ezra pulled her out. And Ezra ends up escaping and locking the portal of the world between worlds. And that's that. So going back to Ahsoka at this point, she ends up helping Ezra, of course, and the rebels amass more ships and do what they need to do. And we don't know what happens from the point in Rebels to the end of the Battle of Endor with her. There's kind of a blank area in between there. So Ezra, at one point, he ends up disappearing with Thrawn, with space whales. I'm not going to go into that, but we'll go into that with Ezra Bridger when I talk about him. But at the end of the Battle of Endor, roughly a couple of years afterwards, according to Sabine Wren, Ahsoka Tano shows up, and her and Sabine and Rex decide that they are going to look for Ezra Bridger to see where he's disappeared to in the galaxy, along with Thrawn, because that was something that they promised him that they were going to do. And that leads us up to the Mandalorian at this point. She is supposed to be looking for Ezra Bridger now at this point. Most likely we're going to see Sabine Wren. Most likely we're going to see Rex as well. And of course bo-katan, which we already met. So there you go. there is a crash course in who in the hell Ahsoka Tano is. I tried to make it as concise as possible. I'm at the 30-minute mark here. And I'm hoping that that kind of gets, it's a lot of information I know I threw at you, but that's it in a nutshell. Um, Again, this is all through Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated series, which started. And by the way, her nickname in that was Snips. She was the most annoying fucking character to begin with for the first season, maybe 2 seasons, somewhere around that. It's a 7-season series, by the way. And she grew on me to the point where she is now my favorite Star Wars character. There you go. After the Clone Wars, of course, we end up with the book Ahsoka, which explains further how she got the white lightsabers here. And then, of course, we go into Star Wars Rebels, with where she goes from there. And she's only in a smattering of episodes in Star Wars Rebels, but enough where everyone's like, yeah. And again, this is all Dave Filoni that's doing the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels. And before anyone mentions anything about this too, it is all canon. So it is looked at by Lucasfilm as being canon, all of this. So before anyone says, oh, well, it's animated, it doesn't make any difference. It is. It's canon. It all is here. So that is where we leave off on all of this. Yeah, it's been one hell of a ride with her. And again, like I said, there is so much out there. If you want to know what kind of episodes to watch for most of this, it's mainly the Mandalorian episodes that you want to watch, especially leading up for the Mandalorian, in both the Clone Wars and in Star Wars Rebels, because those are actually the ones that are important, and they deal with the dark saber, and the dark saber is going to become important in all of this. And I'm interested to see, as much as you are, where Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau take this, because I'm excited about this. This is actually good Star Wars stuff. This is exciting Star Wars stuff and exciting storytelling in general. So yeah, that's great stuff. So thank you if you watch this. I know it's all pre-recorded. I don't have a live audience at the moment, but I needed to just kind of rattle it on and get it out there before, I forgot all of it. And that's why I have my notes too, to be as concise as possible. So I'm going to sign off with, if you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. If you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. Also, if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, hit that bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule that's up there. I change it out every week. Also, all the links to my social media are there. All the links to this YouTube channel, my Facebook page, and a Facebook group page for you guys to join, chat, and talk amongst yourselves. So with that, I will see you. Well, I'll see you again out there. You'll see me, and I'll do more of these. If you like this, let me know down in the comment section if you like this. Also, if you want to know specific episodes to watch and things like that coming up, I can put a list of, I can probably pull together a list, but you can also Google it as well. There are other sites out there that have put out what episodes of Clone Wars and Rebels to watch in order to catch up to the Mandalorian. There's a lot of them out there. That's the reason why I did this, so you didn't have to watch, I would say, roughly about 7 hours worth of animated stuff in order to kind of catch up to things. Because honestly, there's a lot of it out there. There was a lot of Mandalorian stuff. Dave Filoni loves the Mandalorians as much as we do. So, yeah, there are no bad questions out there. And don't feel bad if you don't know this lore. You're not as crazy as the rest of us that actually do, delve into this and watch a lot of it. That's what I do. And I like it. So, let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. Probably the next one I'm going to do is possibly Sabine Wren, I believe is what I'm going to do as the next Who in the Hell Is. And yes, that is the name of this segment of the show. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. I might do bo-katan. Which one you guys want me to do? Because bo-katan also has a very rich background as well, but Sabine Wren does as well, and I believe she's going to be next up on the list here. So either way, let me know. I will see you again next time. So until then, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you might find yourself within the world between worlds, and you need to get out as quick as possible because Palpatine knows you're there and he wants in. Thanks, everybody. I will talk to you next time. Stay safe, be well, take care, and wear a mask when you're outside. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.